So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the areas that we cover. I'll leave you to look at some of the topics, but it starts with a focus on what do we mean by a writing intensive classroom? How do you instill that confidence and practice, and then developing ability with the written form? And obviously there's a focus on structures and routines, and it's linked very closely with the rest of the TLAC material on various structures and techniques. And students then are involved in planning and executing these techniques in their own lessons, practicing, getting their classes to be confident and more developed in their writing skills. It looks at the types of writing we might use in classrooms, be it formative and reflecting on your own ideas as a starting point, or ways to construct sentences carefully and purposefully to get closer to some more summative writing. We also consider the difference between revising and editing written work, and how you can instill that practice and reflection in your classes, be they, emerging writers in year 2 or even reception, or up into the A-level or IB writing students at the upper end of the school system. And we also have a consideration of what the tools of writing can do in terms of linking to other skills in the classroom, whether it can facilitate discussion or feed on from discussion. And alongside all of that, on a weekly basis, there are set readings that focus on areas of cognitive science and other research about employing different writing programs or techniques to develop that skill in our students, and critically analysing the success of those, as well as considering the need for deploying something like this in your own classroom or across a department or across a school, and what sort of policy change might need to happen and who you might need to bring on board with you if you were to try to do that. So in keeping with many of the other single term modules, there are 10 weeks of guided learning. And for us, it's watching sort of a film of between sort of 40 minutes and an hour a week, and then in school practice to note how your techniques are developing, the impact of these on your children, and their outcomes in written form and their confidence. And at the end of each week, you need to submit a 500-word reflection on what you've been doing in school, synthesizing it with the reading for that week around that topic, and the impact that you're beginning to see in your classes, whether that is a good impact or it's something that you've tried and hasn't worked as well as you'd hoped, and really reflecting on the why of that. Why did you choose the steps that you chose? Why did it work well, or why would you need to adapt, and how might you adapt it for future weeks? So it's about revisiting that practice and reflecting on the practice. And then in the final weeks of the module, and ideally there would be 4 to research and plan and 1 to work to write it, is the final assessment. And that involves using 4 of your best reflective journals that you've done on a weekly basis, editing them, polishing them in a way that's similar to the module 1 and 2, and submitting those as a record of your sort of progress through the module, if you like, as well as a 4,000-word assignment based on techniques that have been deployed in schools. That can be you and the techniques that you have developed, as well as other writing programs that have been deployed nationally or internationally, and the impact of those as recorded in the research, and really evaluating that research and evaluating those practices, and considering whether you should be advocating for change regarding writing and developing this writing intensive classroom in your school or department, and maybe even nationally. So that's roughly what is included in our module there. It's a 1-term one. It is available in all 3 of the terms, and I'll talk a little bit more just very briefly in a moment about the availability. So that's it for Doug and Barnaby and our module.